with it. Before I kind of start that, maybe we'll do a little quick survey, so maybe tailor the conversation a little bit. Anybody currently using and like touched on it a couple of, so nobody, like nobody's done some processes at all? Okay, cool. So that's fantastic. We'll tailor it. So we'll go over that a little bit more. So what we'll do is like kick this off here. Probably seen this slide a few times. But yes, so none of us would be here without our sponsors, so go check them out, drop your business cards in there, win some iPods and stuff like that. Or iPods, what are we talking? Apple Watches, iPods, oh my gosh. All right, so here's our agenda today. I'm going to go over a little bit about like what the process builder actually is, what it can do, what are the capabilities, and then the prompt promised you a framework of what you can actually do. So I just got my MBA, and it was 2 years of frameworks, right? And so basically a framework is a guiding principle of how you can decide what to use in Process Builder. So in other words, your internal business processes, what you need to do, how to replicate those into Process Builder, okay? And then just a couple of discussion topics. Most of this will be a show-do demo, so I'm going to show you how it works, what it looks like, and then we'll go build it in a separate org. So we'll have two orgs, one that's already built and then one that we're going to like develop in live. Sound like fun? And then if there's any time at the end, cool. All right, a little bit about myself. I've been I actually started my career at Salesforce many moons ago, and I'm certified. I blog occasionally. You can follow me on Twitter, and today is my birthday. Happy birthday. All right. Okay, so let's dive into this. So what is actually the process, but what is this thing that Salesforce released like 2 years ago? So it's designed to be a simple graphical interface, flexible, and that's essentially does workflow rules, but like a lot more. And what you're doing is you're actually building a flow through this graphical interface, okay? So flow is a little complicated. It can get a little wonky sometimes. This is really simple to understand and easy to pick up. So it's a good in-between, much more powerful than workflow, not as complicated as flow, and not even touching Apex. So what can I actually do with this? So the idea behind Process Builder is that you can do multiple rules, okay? So a multi-step, and we'll build a multi-step process in our demo. But it's designed to do multi-step within one process. So if you currently have a business process that's that you've replicated with 30 different workflow rules, you can do that in one process. And so it's a lot easier to visualize and understand. It's certainly more flexible, and of course it has a graphical interface, which is neat and fun. So what can I actually do, right? So I can do these things. I can launch some Apex, create a record, do some email alerts, launch a flow, post a chatter, quick action, submit for approval, which is my personal favorite, and I can update records. Now, some of these things you probably see I can already do with workflow. That's cool. When I was with Salesforce a little while ago and Salesforce launched Process Builder, there was a lot of questions around, is Process Builder going to replace workflow? The answer to that was unequivocally no, with an asterisk. So I think I'm currently doing everything in Process Builder. I don't do workflows anymore. And the reason why is because I think eventually workflow is going to be deprecated. I don't think it'll ever go away completely, but I think it'll just be, at some point, you won't be able to make new ones. And I think that's way off, and that's my own personal speculation. Safe harbor, don't come sue me, please. Not that you'll be able to get anything. So basically, these are what you can do. All right, so I did promise you a framework, and I call this framework the GUN framework, because the acronym is NRA. Anybody? No? Okay. Yes. Good. You were supposed to laugh there. That was like the prompt. Okay, so we got a little Stewie here, which is great. So the first thing is all right, if I need to notify somebody, okay, email's great, right? But that kind of goes into the email ether. Maybe they checked it, maybe they didn't. Great. We can do notification on email. That's fantastic. But we can also do notification on like Chatter posts. We can notify groups. We can notify individuals, right? And Chatter's a little more. There's a little more ownership in Chatter, right? It's a public, right? My personal email is not public to everybody else, right? To the organization, and so Chatter is just really good for that. And so that's just sort of something that if you need to notify a large group of people automatically, then Process Builder is great for this. Any process, the business process you have that needs to be repeated constantly, and we'll go over a good demo, a good example demo of that, is a fantastic kind of capture for this, for Process Builder. And then anything across object. So Workflow can't handle this, and so previously this was all Apex that you needed. Now Process Builder can create records, it can update other records, it can update multiple records, it can update the current record you're on, all sorts of good stuff. So lots of stuff we can do. And so that's my gun, or my gun framework that we call patent pending, or copyright pending, as it is. So, although I did steal that image, so that's cool. All right, so let's go into our demo. So when I do demos, my fake company is called Durham Donuts, because I'm from Durham, North Carolina, and I love donuts. And so we are, just a little background on Durham Donuts, it's a wholesaler, so but we do also sell directly to individuals, but only for like large orders, right? It's like big birthday parties or something like that. It being my birthday, surprise, surprise, we're gonna sell some to my wife, okay? But we typically sell to commercial buyers, right? So in our case study here, we are the system administrator, and so our job is to essentially take the two different price books that we have, and of course, this is a simple example. How many price books do you guys have? You know, I mean, what, 10? Anybody? No? One? Okay, maybe this won't be a great example then. But think of this as if you had multiple price books, 5, 10, 50, right, for different lines of business. Typically those price books are actually, it's already guaranteed that price book is gonna be associated to a particular customer based on that. So why let a human make that decision? Instead, let Process Builder handle that for you. And if you think about this, this is a good example that I like to kind of things as admins. This is my one tangent. So let me get in my soapbox for like 2 minutes here. When you build stuff and you're an admin, right? At the end of the year, and your boss comes to you and says, "Okay, would you like a raise? What did you do?" Well, what did you do, right? And so if you can quantify things like this, like I say, well, I created a process and I evaluated our business process and I created a simple process rule that took me 5 minutes to do, but saved 10 seconds every time somebody clicked on a price book, and times 10,000 opportunities, that saved the company X dollars, right? And so this is like sort of thing. So as an admin, I find it very important to actually, whenever I make a change, quantify that change across what the impact is going to be on the organization. Not just for my own personal, what I know is, okay, this is my impact, but to be able to measure that across across the whole impact of that change. Cool? All right. So let's go actually do that, and so we'll go from there. So I have my working demo here in Firefox, and then we're going to build in Chrome. So if I have my commercial order here, so I have Kroger. What do we have out here? Do they have Kroger's out here? Kroger? Okay, fantastic. So I got Kroger here, and so I'm going to do a new opportunity. And Kroger is a commercial, right? So this should, if everything's working right, demo ferries, et cetera, this should automatically set the commercial price book when I create this opportunity. So, we'll just throw something in here. Today's close date. Oh, not cool. Better? All right, cool. And so we'll just, we'll go ahead and click save here. And it didn't work. Demo fairies. All right, so let's just go and build this like directly. I promise you it'll work. All right, so let's go into Chrome here, and we'll log in. So we have a brand new setup. So let's go to the process builder. So we're just going to pop into our process builder. I like to just type in process in the quick find bar here, but it's under the workflow and approval section. And then we'll do a new one. And then we'll show default price book. For demo purposes, I'm not going to add descriptions to these to save some time, but I always definitely recommend descriptions for pretty much everything, so you and everybody else can know what happened. All right, so this is our basic structure of our process builder. So the first thing we have to do is select the object that's actually going to trigger, just like on workflow, right? So whatever the action is doing. And so for here, we're going to select opportunity. And then I only want this to happen like when the actual record is created, right? So if you think about the process, I don't want it to change all the time or have to trigger every single time. There's no sense in that, so we're just going to do it only when it's created. And then we'll save that. So the important thing here is unlike the community demo we just saw where you make a change and it auto saves, each step here you need to save it. So the criteria you have, and so I'll just let's do our first step, right? So we have two different price books, right? Individual and commercial. Okay, we'll do individual, and then what we'll do is we'll say the opportunity, and then I'm going to say account, and then we'll talk to record type, okay, and then record type ID, and then we're going to use record type name, okay, and we'll just choose that, and we'll just say individual, okay, and then so there's our criteria. Pretty straightforward, right? I mean, this isn't rocket science, anybody? Cool. All right. And then so we'll save this. And then what I'm going to do is this is our multi-step example, okay? So then we're going to say commercial. And we're going to select account. And commercial. Okay, so we'll save that. All right, so the idea here is again, so this is totally visual, right? If this individual is false, it's going to go to the next step, and then just keep going all the way down. So you can add up to 50 steps, and I think up to 50 in these actual each of these actions, you can add up to 15 actions in each step, right? So think about that. It's a huge process that you could do within just one process. All right. So let's just quickly kind of add our actions here. And then so what I want to do is we're going to update record, okay? And update price book. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the opportunity that started the process, right? Because we want to update that particular opportunity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set our actual fields that we're going to set. So price book, and then price book ID. All right, so here's a little thing that we got to do. Now we have to go and find the ID of our price book. Relatively straightforward, so we're just going to come here. The good thing is these IDs don't change. So if you delete something, obviously you need to do that. But typically once a price book is set, it's good to go. So we'll save there. And then we'll do the same thing for our commercial. So we'll grab our commercial ID, and then we'll just close those. And I add our immediate actions here. Update record. commercial. Opportunity that started, choose here. And so as I'm navigating here, notice that, I'm typing in, I'm not trying to select, and having to scroll through a bunch of list of fields. And so part of these things are like, it's just, that's part of the visual kind of process builder interface. And so just kind of notice those things. Those are little tricks to make things a little faster. Cool, so here our process is all set. Let's activate this. And go test it, see what happens, right? So we'll do Kroger here. And notice we have record type commercial. And we'll do new opportunity today and save. What's it? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so product commercial. I guess that was a kind of anticlimactic, wasn't it? So, anyways, our price book is set dynamically. Fantastic, right? So the idea here is that a salesperson would have previously had to create the opportunity, let it save, and then go back and choose the price book thereafter. Previous to Process Builder, this was an Apex thing, okay? And so now you as an admin can do it, and that's kind of fun. All right, so let's go back to, how am I doing on time? When was I supposed to end this thing? I got 10 minutes. Wait, no, I'm supposed to end right now. This went over. When is it supposed to end? What did it say? I get like 25 minutes. Is the next speaker here? I'm gonna go over. We're done. Look at this. All right, so let's say we occasionally get large last-minute orders. I'd like to invite you all to my birthday party. So my wife is going to order some donuts, except that they're going to be today, right? And so in order to approve that, the head baker has to approve this, okay? And so we have a user set up, and so we're tasked with automating the submission of the approval process to the head baker. And so all right, well, that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and do that based on some auto criteria. So let us add some well, actually here, let's go to our family, and we'll do new opportunity and large order. Okay, and it's today, stage, and then let's pop in and let me just go back to the setup here. And since we're kind of a little bit short on time, let me just show you this process in the back end, in the one that's already built. All right, large opportunity, submit for approval. All right, so I'm trying to remember what I did for my criteria here. So opportunity, and then so here we go. So greater than 2,000. We can kind of do whatever we want. Let's go back to Process Builder. All right, so same thing, opportunity, except this time, excuse me, except this time we want to do it when it's edited, right? And instead of right when it's created, right? So we're gonna trigger an edit when we add products, and so we want to do that. We'll add some criteria here really quick. And so this is a large order, approved, does not equal true, okay? Because our approval process is going to trigger that large order, right? So that's part of our step. And then we'll click save. Oh, and if anybody has any questions, you just pop in. I'll answer them. All right, and then what we want to do is, of course, submit for approval here. Okay? And submit. And then so what we hear is we can actually choose a default one or a specific one. I'll just choose a specific one so we have here. And then I have that already set up in here. It's called large order. And then you can choose actually to skip the entry process if it doesn't meet the criteria. You can, choose that. You could also choose a specific submitter and add some notes in there, right? So like to differentiate whether this is like an automated one or a non-automated one. So we'll go ahead and click save and activate this. And then let's just pop back to our opportunity really quick and add a couple of products. And, oh, you know what? That was kind of bad criteria, but whatever, we're short for time. Where'd my opportunity go? Aw. Save. Oh. All right, save. All right, we gotta like chant. This is like the internet chant, the drum circle and whatnots. All right, let's try this again. Oh, no. All right, what did I do wrong? Don't panic. What did I do wrong here? Does not equal true, which means it equals false, right? You know what? We're a little short on time. Let's just go look at the org that I have set up, so we're not doing the live one, and we'll just show you those. And then that way we'll get a better idea, because I had like 2 more use cases, and this is kind of running a little longer than I thought it would. So let's go take a look at this. I promise you these work. And so, all right, so the idea behind this is we can add, I'm trying to touch on these examples, the different kind of parts of this. This isn't everything that Process Builder can do. But note that there's multiple criteria here. So there's 2 different steps. You can do and or custom logic, just like you can with a workflow. And then you can even kind of get a little more advanced here. And you want to execute these actions only when a particular change is made, right? So this is kind of an important piece that I want to touch on really quick. If you don't have this checked, right, this is essentially, the process is going to trigger continually every time you edit it, regardless. But if you have this checked, it's only going to change only in the edit that this particular criteria is met, right? So, for example, in our large order example, the criteria is greater than 2,000, right, which we have a formula that manages that, and then does not equal false, right? So if our approval process checks that checkbox to true, this should never run again, okay? And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, okay? So let's go take a look at some of the other ones here, and then I'll go into that, and then we just take a look at that. So we did the submit. So our next one was a rush order, right? So my wife submitted the rush order for my giant birthday party that you all are coming to. So let's take a look at what that actually does. So here's some criteria that has a formula in it. Couple of things, casual comments for formulas. So formulas in workflow works pretty well. They're generally the same. I would recommend using the builder that's involved here. And then if you'll notice, each one of these components, well, I can't highlight it here, unfortunately, but basically every single little element in the process builder needs a space in between it. It's a quirky thing about Process Builder. So if you're building formulas, so notice that, like in between here, I have a space in between the created date and the parenthesis, and then another space in between the equal sign, and et cetera, right? Okay, and then let's take a look at this. This is a chatter notification setup. All right, and so what I'm doing is I'm notifying my user, okay, here, and so I'm setting that up here. So I'm notifying my head baker, okay, and then I'm also merging in a field from the opportunity. So anything that's on the record that you're doing, you can merge those fields in, and anything that's related as well. So that's kind of neat. and it makes it a little better as far as the information that you're pushing out. All right, and then we'll just go over the one last one really quick, which was basically a multi-object one. So here, unfortunately, we didn't get time to set those last two up, but what we want to do here was a simple criteria. Basically, the way Durham Donuts manages shipping is there's a little drop down that just says it's shipped. The baker essentially checks that, and when that happens, all of the product line items, okay, that were associated there, all also get marked shipped, right? So if you think about the idea, you might have a partially shipped order, okay, where individual product line items might get shipped individually, or I can just say the whole order has been shipped, and then all of my products are just automatically updated, right? And so this does a multi-step kind of, or multi products, and then it just does it to how many ever products. If I had, 1,000 donuts in there, different donut product line items, it would update 1,000 different records. Or if I did only one, it would only update one record, right? So kind of fun. All right, cool. So that was basically kind of what I wanted to show. Thanks a lot. Last couple of slides here. I'll go over these really super quick, just the last slide. These are just like quick gotchas, 50 rules per object. If you're, this actually happens still. So like if your screen width isn't 1020, 24, which I feel like should never happen anymore, but if it's lower than that, the process builder it just shrinks and kind of messes up a little bit. So it's got to be at least that. And then so if you're familiar with how the save behavior of records process at the same time as workflow. So kind of understand that if you have workflow rules and processes together, they're going to trigger and save at the same time. Call out these guides here, and then I'll just call out this blog at the bottom, Rakesh Gupta's blog. Basically, I like this because what he's done is he's broken everything down into like little individual tasks, right? And there's hundreds of them that he's got set up, so it's super cool. I'll publish this out on my website so you can have it, as well as some of the different steps as well to go through and exercises. And then other than that, does anybody have any questions? Ooh, go.
So what do you ask yourself if you have to do something and choose Process Builder? Is that your go-to? And then workflow now becomes just your secondary option?
So right now, there's kind of no reason to use workflow at all. Just because Process Builder can do everything that workflow can do. Now, I mean, look, if you're familiar with workflow, the thing I said at the beginning, it's not going away anytime soon, right? And that's just my personal opinion. So if you're familiar with workflow, it's not like bad that you're using it, but typically for me, it's just all Process Builder now. Yes, if you have processes that require like the multi-step. So if you have like 10 workflow rules to do a 10-step process, kind of like that. If you had 10 price books, right, and you were setting those and you had one each time, right, and one workflow rule for that, one for that, right. The management behind 10 workflow rules, right, and updating those if they ever change, right, is a lot easier in process. So yes, you could migrate it over. You might have to eventually anyways. I doubt that's going to happen, but and then it also would be a good exercise for you to do that as well, just to kind of get used to it. So.
Can you create in Sandbox and then use change sets to push into production?
Yes, but it's a little different. The change set won't show process doesn't show up as like it doesn't say like process, right? It shows up as a flow, and so you have to choose flow from the change set, and then they'll show up, and then you push them over as well. I don't necessarily recommend using change sets for something like for any flows or anything like that, just because I like to do. like Eclipse, or there's a tool that we use internally at Velocity for like migrating stuff, which is called Dream Factory Snapshot, which does a lot of org compares, and I think I got a thumbs up over there. And are you from Dream Factory? I am. Oh, fantastic. It's good for like org compare and stuff like that. So and then it does the migration for you, which is nice. So, but yeah, it's a little weird, and I think they're going to change that. I think Salesforce is going to change that. I think of the change set, so that in the change set when it shows up, I think they're going to get it. It's going to just it'll say processes instead of having to go to flows, because technically in the process builder you're building a flow, just through a visual editor. Yeah, it's a headless flow. Yeah, exactly. More or less. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, fantastic. This was super fun for me. Thank you for listening to me drone on for a little bit and my soapbox. Thank you very much. And I have one more.
Yeah, where can we expect, or where
I'll throw it on my website, salesforcequest.com, my blog.
can your contact, could you show it again?
Oh, yeah. How do I do this? There we go. All right. I think the next person is up, yeah? Or is there a break? That's right. Somebody said there was a break. Cool. Thanks.